Okay, so we're going to talk about Git workflow and GitHub today in a pair setting. And this actually isn't just for pairs. It's also for, it'll be the same workflow you use for your groups because your next project is a group project and it'll follow the same workflow. So here, I'll change it to pairs or groups. And this is the workflow that you'll use when you're on an actual dev team after Turing as well. So and it takes some time to learn too. So give yourself that grace and that patience to get this down, because once you get into the rhythm of it, it'll become like second nature. But it does take time. Like anything, we kind of have to suck at something before we can be good at it. So just allow yourself to be in that place. So we are going to talk more about Git workflow with branches. So we'll be expecting you to use branches. We're gonna explore navigating merge conflicts. And then talk a little bit about paired GitHub etiquette and what you should be doing and not doing. So what I'd like for you to start, we're gonna do a little warm up. So either grab a blank file in a text editor or your journal or your notebook. But let's take 3 minutes. And what I would like you to do is jot down your current Git workflow, including branches. So if you were using branches, which ideally you are, and then I have some bullets here, some things to think about, but go ahead and take 3 minutes and just write down your Git workflow. That cracks me up. Okay, I also think that is slightly obnoxious, but it cracks me up. Okay, so what I'm gonna want you to do is kind of keep this, hopefully you made that like a list, almost like a checklist of the steps that you're gonna do through your Git workflow. And I'm gonna keep a list as well for you to compare to. Also in the backend code help channel, I linked the well, I guess it's actually the lesson plan for this lesson, which we're not going to follow exactly, but it does list out a lot of really, really helpful Git commands. So that's a good resource to just have open for, well, this lesson, I think. But we'll make our own list. So we're going to jump in and kind of create together. We're going to start from scratch. We're going to go through the process of creating a repo locally and then connecting it to a remote to really get down our workflow process. So the first thing we want to do, well, let's see. So brand new project. We need to even make our directories. Directory and files on our local. So we're gonna have a planet party today. I like to make all my projects a party because life should be fun. So I'm in here. So this is where I want my project to live. So I don't have any kind of project yet. I don't have anything. So my first step, of course, is going to make the directory to hold my project. And maybe this is, I'm gonna call it planet party. Okay. All right. You got to have fun with life, people. So, all right. And then, of course, we need to CD into our planet party. Awesome. And what do you all think? And maybe someone can raise their hand. What's the very next step that I should do or can do, I guess? Joshua.
Git init.
I love it. All right, so then we'll CD into directory and do a git init. And Joshua, remind me, what does git init do?
It initializes Git tracking.
Yeah, another question for you, Joshua, follow up. If I wasn't sure if this directory was being tracked by Git right now, how could I check that really quickly?
I guess two ways. You could do git status or you could do ls-a.
That's true. So git status right away shows you, okay, this is not a Git repository. The ls-a means he's looking for any of the hidden files. And remember, when it's tracked by Git, it has a hidden .git file. So that's how you know if a directory is being tracked by Git. So here it is obviously not. It tells us right here, it's not a Git repository. So we need to do our git init command. And now we can see if we do a git status, it just says on branch master, no commits yet. And then if we do the ls-a, whoops, nope, we can see there is a hidden .git file. So we know that this is being tracked. All right, in this new world, right, because we don't want to work on master anymore, right? We're done with that. That's the old way of thinking. We're new age thinkers here. So what is the very next thing I should do to make sure I don't have any issues with that master branch? Ideas?
Change it to main.
Yeah, absolutely. Taylor, was that you? Thank you. So we're going to change it to main. And this, I just keep a snippet of this so that I always have that handy. So this is, let's see, where, you probably want this snippet. How about I put this in your Slack channel? Look, Meg started a thread. Thank you, Meg. And I'll just add that in there. And then you always have that. So you want to keep that snippet. But if we do this right from the get-go, we won't have any issues with there being any, like a history on master. That's when you try to switch this mid-project, that's the problem you're running into, is there's a history on master. We're trying to like say, nope, just use main, and Git's like, but what about this history? Like, we can't just let it go. So doing it right from the get-go, make sure that we don't have that kind of problem. Someone raised their hand. Where did my, okay, Kate.
Has anybody seen yet, you may not know the answer to this, a way to make Git on your local machine just default to main?
Don't know.
Okay,
That
I'll
is
look it up.
I would imagine, I mean, it seems like there should be a way to do that, but I don't know.
Okay.
If you research that a little, if you find anything, I know you'll share that with the channel. So thanks in advance. And if I find anything or if the instructors find anything, we'll share it too. Joshua?
So I think I can't remember who posted, Carson or someone, a link. There were like 5 steps to change master to main. This
Yeah.
seems, I think this was one of those steps. Is this kind of just like an illusion that we're now calling it main, but it's still master, or?
It's making main, like the main branch. The steps from that article that Carson posted, which was super helpful, is kind of if you've already have a Git history on master and you need to move that history over to main. So that main becomes your new default branch. When we do it from the get-go, right at the beginning, when there's no history, there's no commits or anything, then we can miss or skip a lot of those steps.
Okay, awesome. Thank you.
Yeah, definitely. And you'll be able to see this too when we push this up to the remote repo. There's not even going to be a master branch. So cool. All right, so we did this piece. The next step is kind of to build more of our project. So I'm going to make our directories of lib and test. And because it's a planet party, we're going to have a planet class and we're going to have a planet test class. And I think that's good for now. And so what I'm doing right now, because all I'm doing is setting up the initial file structure loosely. I'm not actually starting to code, but I want to, because eventually I'm going to add some collaborators to this project. I don't want to make them wait to work while I work because there's no commits up yet, because right now the remote repo doesn't exist. So I want to get that remote repo up so that everyone can start working on different projects or different features. Okay, so we've added, this is all I want to add for now. Robert, go ahead.
If you started at the on GitHub, could you do that instead and then have everybody start working sooner, or is this a better way to do it?
You can create the repo on GitHub and people can start doing it, but it won't. Someone's got to push up an initial commit at some point. There's got to be a first. And so I prefer to do it this way just because then like the file structure is kind of set up. There's something there instead of just an empty repo. But I guess if everyone's on the same page, it doesn't really matter. Yeah. And Megan, anytime if you feel like interjecting, like feel free.
All right,
great.
thanks.
Yeah. Cool. So this is all I want to collect. So what's the next thing I need to do? Will, I don't know if you had a question or if you're going to answer my question, but either way, go for it.
No, I have a question, and this may be a little bit ahead of it, but let's say we're working on this pairs project right now, and one of us has changed the name from main to master to main, and the other one, say, forgot to, and we're trying to push up to the repo. Does that cause problems, or is it figured out somehow by the first commit?
Yeah, that is a great question, and we will get to that. So typically on a collaborative project, one person is responsible for creating the repository, right? And so that person, like say Meg and I are going to be working in a paired project, and I'm going to be the person responsible for creating the repository. So it's going to be on my GitHub account. And so I'm going to be the one who does the first push with the initial commit. And you'll see this when I push this to GitHub. But by setting main here, I'm right in the beginning, I'm ensuring that master never exists for anyone. Cool. So we'll take a look at it because yes, that would create some issues. All right, what's my next step? So I created an initial file structure. I don't have anything remotely yet. Garrett, what's my next step?
I would do like git checkout -b and then go to a new branch name for the probably just name it like the name of the class that you're going to be working on in the new so you go to the new branch.
Yeah, so I think that will be good once I get everything hooked up. So right now this is kind of like all the prep work for creating the project so that Meg and I can get to work. So right now I still need to create my remote repo and get everything just situated up there before I can start working.
Oh, so would you git push
Mhm.
origin and main?
Yeah, what do I need to do before I do a push though?
Oh, commit.
And even before my commit?
Add.
Yes. So, and if we weren't sure, I could always do git status, right? And git status will show me, okay, I have 2 untracked files in this project. And so first we need to stage those by adding them. So I'm just gonna add git status in here because I want you to get into the habit of checking that frequently, because it'll tell you the status of your working project. And then we're gonna get add the file name or directory.
Sorry, yeah, we're just going like very step by step here.
It's all good.
Or you can do git add -a to do all files.
You can do that. You can do git add dot. So there's a lot of different shortcuts. You can do like this. We'll add everything within those directories. So there's a couple different ways you can do it, but ultimately you just want to get everything added and staged. And then I always like to check my git status again to make sure that those are now green and that they are staged.
Kathleen, could I also ask a sort of a follow-up question to that as well?
Yeah.
So as far as like the pairs piece works and kind of when we're creating this initial repo, what's the best practice as far as what to include in the like initial repo that's being created in order to clone? Because we didn't create the lib and the test folders. Like we created a repo and then cloned it, and now each of us will essentially be creating lib and test folders on our remotes for our first commit.
Yeah, and that's going to be fine. You'll run into some merge conflicts, which is great. We'll handle some of those today too.
Create one lib and test folder that has the different files we created each.
Yeah, well, if you're building a project and you know everyone's going to have a lib and test folder, it makes sense to me to just create that initial file structure on your initial commit, just so that those folders exist and everyone has those already. But if you don't, that's okay. This is, we'll do merges to bring everything together.
And then because we didn't do that, there will be a merge conflict, and we'll basically just have to essentially delete one of the lib and test folders and move those files into the other person's.
Yeah, we'll go through merge conflicts. So hopefully your question on that'll be clarified when we get to that piece. Well, and then Sydney, I think, did you still have a question?
I did, but we might get to it. I guess my question comes in when you start adding the entire folder. I almost feel like initially that makes sense to me, but after I feel like because you're breaking down your commits, you should do it by am I thinking about that wrong? Because if you're within a file, every time you get something to pass, a chunk of code to pass, you're committing that up. So
Yeah.
Should it kind of be like you're doing the whole thing up front, and then as you work through the project, you're doing it by the file?
No, so when you were correct, the first thing you said with commit should encapsulate a little piece of functionality. So right now I'm just creating the initial test, or I'm sorry, the initial file structure. So as we start writing a test, when I write a test, I'll commit that test. And then when I write the code that makes that test pass, I will commit that test. Now I'll commit that method I wrote. The thing is though, especially as your projects get larger, to make a test pass, you might have to manipulate or work in different files. That could still be one commit though, even though it's across multiple files, because it's working towards one piece of functionality.
Okay, that makes sense.
And I'll kind of butt in there too and just say, Sydney, I like that you brought this point up. And I think we just went over okay, you could use a git add dot, or you could do a git add the folder. And something to be really careful of with that git add dot is just exactly what it does is it adds everything. And so you might want to break that up. And so I would say don't ever use git add dot, to be completely honest, just because it's I don't know, I think I used to be in the habit of it, but then it's really hard to distinguish between the functionalities that is accomplishing. So I would steer away from never doing a git add dot and commit separately. But like Kat said, you can commit multiple things, or sorry, you can add multiple things and commit them as if like those 3 files or whatnot accomplished a certain functionality, and you commit those 3 at once. But I would be really specific about what you're adding, so that you can kind of wrap them all up into one commit.
Cool. Yeah, I like that. Always better to be explicit, I think, and intentional in what we're doing. Okay, great. So I've got these added. I have these staged. What is my next step? And I think who was helping me already kind of said it, but we worked backwards. Who was helping me before?
That was me.
Okay, great. Who's me?
Yeah, it's Garrett.
Oh, thank you, Garrett. Sometimes like your face will pop up on who's talking, but sometimes not. So Garrett, after I've added them, what's my next step here?
I know we're going like super step by step. Do we add, commit? Do we do all that?
Well, what do you think? Like if I
don't
what if
know
I
where
want-
you're at with it. Okay, so we need to, yeah, so just commit.
right, because these are staged, they're green, but they need
Yeah,
to
yeah,
be committed.
I just didn't
So-
know where like you had gotten to.
No, that's okay. And that's what, but that's also something, because you will get distracted while you work and you won't remember, not you, Garrett, but you collectively, everyone, you won't remember if you've added or if you've committed or where you are. So that's why I want you to get familiar with the get status and then what it means when it spits, what the message is it spits out, what that means to you. So here,
Oh, yeah.
things need to still be committed.
Yep.
So, and then for my message, I'm just going to do initial commit since this is the first commit of the project. Okay, and now if I do get status, because I got distracted again, I'll see there's nothing to commit, working trees clean. So I'm good there. So the next thing I need to do, Garrett, what's the last thing to do here?
You want to push to the remote.
Oh yeah. So let's put get push origin main. What happened? It didn't work.
Oh, because we didn't pull from an initial repository because we're like creating.
Oops, I forgot to update our notes. And then, so does anyone remember the command to check if I've linked up a remote repository to this, to my local? Todd?
Sorry, I had to get off mute.
Yeah.
That would be, I've got that here. I just can't find it. Somebody else, please.
Phone a friend, Joshua.
Get remote -v.
Yes, so get remote -v, well, displays the linked remote repositories. Words are hard. So if we do get remote -v here, it spits back nothing. So I don't have anything linked. So actually, what's my next step here? Oh, sorry, George, go ahead. Forgot there's hands.
Oh, there was that was from before, but I think we need to make the repository now. Am I on mute? Yeah, we gotta make the repo in our remote.
Yeah, exactly. So
go
mm-hmm.
ahead. Yep. You want to name it the same?
Mm-hmm. Can I name it something different?
Sure. It would be confusing.
Look, I can't name it Planet Party because I already have.
Oh, just joking. You can't. Okay.
Planet Party 2008. How's that? We'll name it that. So actually, this is good. I'm glad this happened. So now this remote repository is not called the same thing that I called this directory, and that's okay. They don't have to be called the same thing. It's easier sometimes so you don't get confused, but they don't have to be. So I'm going to go ahead and create that repository. I want to create what's called the uplink or the upstream. So we do that by doing this command here, get remote add. I'm naming the link origin, and then this is the SSH key of where it exists on the internet. So I'm just going to copy that. and connect it here. So git remote add origin. And now if I do git remote v, I see that I do have a remote link named origin, and this is the location. And I have both fetch and push privileges. Cool. So let's update our notes. Create remote repo on GitHub. Add remote to local repo. And we do this here. I'll put this command. It's git remote add and the name of remote. And then the SSH of remote. I'm pretty sure I'm phrasing that incorrectly, and I apologize. All right. So now we should be good to do the push command that Garrett had mentioned before. So I'm not on a branch. I'm still just on that main branch because I'm just setting up this initial repository. So git push origin main, and it should write it up there for me. Oh, update the notes. Git push origin main. Cool, and then if we go back over to the remote repo, if I refresh this, great, I can see that my initial commit was made. I have some empty files here, but the file structure has been created. And here's what I want to point out. It says I have one branch, and if I look here, my branch is called main, and it is my default branch. So there's no master here. There is only a main, which is nice and smooth for us. Jake, you have a question?
Yes. So can you not push empty directories up? Because I tried to do that last night, and it let me add them and commit them. And then when I hit git push, it said everything's up to date.
Yeah, it won't let you add empty directories. There has to be some kind of file in there. That's why sometimes you'll see a hidden .keep file. So you might see like touchlib.keep. And all that is doing, it's kind of like a placeholder so that that file will push up to GitHub so that the file structure will be there, but that .keep just indicates there's nothing in that file. It's just a way to make sure that directory gets up to GitHub.
Gotcha. So that's what, because I think we saw that on in our card class, because it was an empty directory, but it had that .keep, so that would make sense. Okay, thank you.
Okay, got rid of it. Will. Sorry, I'm going to get better at putting hands down, but if you could lower your hand, that would be more helpful after you ask a question. Go ahead.
Am I correct in understanding that main and master, there's nothing special about them at all? They're just another branch, and it's just become a standard that main or master is kind of the main master repository type thing?
That's correct. And so the main branch, previously called master, so you might still see it when you get a job and you're working for like an existing code base, you might be working with the master branch. I encourage you to be, the world changers though of this dev environment, and encourage them to change the name of that master branch to main. But the idea of either of those branches is that's where all the pristine, clean working code lives. And it just serves as like the main working branch or the main working code of the project.
Yeah, thanks. I just wanted to clarify that there's nothing special about there's just another branch, and it's just the standard is called that either main or master. Okay.
Yeah, exactly. Cool. Garrett?
Yeah, so I guess I'm just a little confused, like why, if I get it, so we're creating our initial lib and test folders. That piece makes sense before we go to another branch.
Mm-hmm.
Why are we creating, like in your case, you created the planet file, like planet.rb, right? Why not create like just a README or something and then do the planet file on a new branch? Why are we initially committing the planet file on the main branch?
It was just a decision I made. So there's no like reason for it. And you very well could just create, you know, a README and just have this start with a README. It was just a decision I made as the starter of this project I wanted this file structure here. And I knew that the first thing we'll do as a group is create this planet class. So my files are empty and they might change, but I just wanted that initial file structure to be here.
Okay, so there isn't necessarily a best practice other than creating the initial folders.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with yes, but I don't know the answer to that in terms of like a best practice. I would say you want to do as little as possible in your initial commit. You're just setting the stage for everyone to go off and start working.
Okay.
Cool. All right, that was our timer for a POM. So let's take a quick 5 minutes and then we'll come back and do a branching workflow. So let's be back at 9:36.
Can you go back to the checklist, Kat?
Sorry, go ahead.
Do you mind going back to the checklist? I just want to make sure.
Yep, absolutely.
Thank you.
All right, so we're back recording. Sorry, was there a question?
Just to see your cat.
Oh, I will. You know what? Let me take a, sorry, this is recorded too. I'm gonna take a picture and then I will put it in the Slack channel because it's too hard to get to move my setup right now. And then hopefully she'll stop attacking my toes. Okay, so we've got our initial file structure and I'm gonna go through this branching workflow again. Oh, can you hear me okay? I just got like a notice that my internet connection's unstable. We're okay? Right. I wanna go through this like solo branching workflow because working in pairs or working on a team, you're gonna follow this same exact workflow when you're working on a branch. It's not any different. There's little things that'll be different, a couple more steps at the end, but during your coding process, everything's gonna be exactly the same. So we created our remote repository. We have an initial file structure. So let's say I want to actually start working on some functionality now. Maybe I just want to add that a planet exists. So just create that bare bone planet class. So what should I do right now in my terminal? What's my first kind of step to, oh my gosh. Ugh. Sorry, my screen went off. I don't know if you can see me. My cat pulled the cord out of my monitor and the monitor went, get out of here. Oh, what a fun day today, friends. All right, so back to my question. What's the first step I should do in my terminal here to in my Git workflow to start creating this functionality? And I'm more focused here on the actual Git workflow, not the actual code. George.
Would you start making a new branch now so you don't get confused?
Yes, not so that I don't get confused, but once main is established, we never ever want to do development work on main, right? Main should always be pristine. It's not our place to experiment with code or add new code directly on main. So we always want to branch when we're going to be adding new functionality, new code, when we're going to be refactoring, whenever we want to do anything to alter main, we get in the habit, we never want to alter main directly. So we want to create a branch, make our changes on the branch, and alter main via that branch and a pull request. Okay. All right, so now let's work. Oh, yes, okay, let's go through this real quick and then we're gonna do some breakout rooms. George, do you remember my command to create a branch?
I think so. Git branch, or yeah, git checkout. Oh shoot. Yeah, git checkout dash. No, the file, I think you need to make the name. Or is it the dash B? Oh my God, I need a helper.
Git branch and then whatever the name of the branch.
So there's two things you can, well, there's multiple things you could do. So you could do git branch and then create the name of the branch. you could do that, and then you need to do get checkout and the name of branch to move to it. But if you want to do both of these in one step, I'm trying to think how can I write this in a note. Above two steps can be combined with get checkout. I said check out. It's checkout. Get checkout dash B name of branch. And what that command will do on line 53 here is that will create the new branch and move you to that new branch. So you can do it in 2 steps, but you don't, I mean, let's just be efficient here and we'll do it in 1. So we can do the get checkout dash B name of branch. And remember, branch names should be named for the little tiny piece of functionality. Actually, I'm sorry, commits are little tiny pieces of functionality. A branch is a slightly larger but still focused piece of functionality. So I'm going to name my branch. This is really small, isn't it? So I'm going to do get checkout dash B, and I'm going to name my branch create planet class. And that's the functionality I want to create on this branch. For the purpose of a little bit of speed here, we're just going to do so I'm just adding this because this is not a lesson on our TDD or coding. So I'm just going to add this really fast so that we can get the actual pieces of the branch. So planet, class. And all we wanted to do was test it exists. So we're going to create a planet. Instance of. Cool. And then I want to test. Okay, so this is habit now. I have to run the test. I have to make sure the test doesn't error. Okay, good. All right, so, well, I did get an error, but that's what I expected, right? So the test is working, so we're good to go there. So now I'm gonna go ahead, and because I have a working test, it's not a passing test, but it's a working test, okay? There's no syntax errors or anything like that. It just can't find the code because I haven't coded it yet. So I'm going to go through this workflow again that we've already kind of gone through. So after I make the branch, we will do some coding work, and then we go through that same cycle of get again, where we do our get add, our get commit, and then keep working. Just because you do a commit doesn't mean you need to do a push. So get status, I can see that my test file is changed, so I'm gonna do a get add test planet test. Get status, make sure that was staged, and then we're going to do a get commit adds test. I'll try to stay consistent with what I think you all are doing. Add test for planet existing. Cool. All right. Now what I would do normally is now continue working. Well, we can do this actually. I'll make this test pass. That should make my test pass. Great, so I now have the code that makes my test pass. And yes, I'm doing a slightly trivial and tiny example right now for the sake of the focus being on Git workflow, not the actual code. But I have the code now that makes that test pass. So I'm going to do it, my status, get add my lib planet, get status, looks like it's staged, it's green, so we're good to go. Commit, create planet class. All right, so let's say I'm done working. I know there's not much on this branch, but I technically have completed the functionality I set out to accomplish with this branch, which is create planet class. So now, what's my next step? I'm done with this branch and I want to get this code up and running so my project partners and my team have this code. So what's my next step? Jake?
You need to push it back up to GitHub.
Do you remember my command to do that?
Git push.
So I haven't set like my upstream or anything.
Oh, so -u.
I don't want to set an upstream.
Oh, no. Okay. Then I don't know.
What would come after the -u?
Origin,
Mm-hmm.
and then your branch name.
Yep, exactly. So that -u is just an indicator that I want to set that upstream. So all I have to do is git push. For me, I like to just be much more explicit. So I don't typically set an upstream, but you very well could if you wanted to just do git push. But I'm going to do it longhand for the purpose of this lesson. So git push origin, that's the name of my remote repository, and my branch is create planet class. So we're going to push that up, and then, all right, no errors. Now what is my next step with this? Eugene?
Create a pull request that you can merge it back into the main branch.
Yes, exactly. So now we shift back over to our GitHub repository, and I can see here that there's a new branch has been pushed up, and I want to compare and create a pull request, because this is how we get our changes into the main branch so everyone has this working code. So I might leave a comment here. This branch does creates initial test, creates planet class, all tests passing. There's no like standard on if you have to do this, but I think it's a good idea, especially as you start working in larger and larger groups, to be to help with communication. And we want to get really good at this written communication piece, and GitHub is a great place for us to do that. And then all of our, when you add something like all tests passing, then your teammates know that you actually ran your test suite and you are not pushing up broken code. But our commits are here, and remember our commit should leave a history of exactly what we did. So this looks good. We're going to create our pull request, and everything looks good. There's no conflicts. We'll talk about conflicts in a little bit here. So I'm going to go ahead and merge that, confirm merge, and then I'm good to go. So code, we'll see this, my commits here have been updated. Lib planet, it now has that planet class. Joshua, question?
Yeah. Is it good etiquette when you're working with partners or groups to submit a pull request, but then not to automatically merge it? Just wait for your group mates to look at the pull request and then they are the ones to merge it?
Yep, that's correct. So probably I should have already added Meg, but the thing I wanted to show too is that like this is a solo workflow, right? It's going to be the exact same workflow except for that piece that you just mentioned, Joshua, that you never merge your own pull request when you're working on a team. But what I want to really like hone in is this workflow is going to be exactly the same whether you're working solo, in a pair, or on a team. Okay.
Thank you.
And it's good to have other people review your pull request because A, they can tell you it's good if it's good and recommend things to change if need be. And if they give you things to change, you can change them before merging the pull request.
Yeah, and we'll demonstrate that in a minute too with Meg going through a pull request. Garrett, do you have a question?
I do, yeah. What's like best practice as far as like how many commits, for example, do we typically do before we push to the actual remote? Is there any sort of guidance on that?
No, there's never a number. It's however many commits it takes to accomplish your functionality.
Okay, I guess, like, okay.
So like your branch should encapsulate a decent amount of logic, but if you find yourself saying like and, then your branch is probably too big. So like if this branch created the planet class and created a solar system class and created, I don't know, a star class, then that's doing way too much for a branch. So your branches want to still be focused on what functionality they're adding, even though it's a little larger than what like a commit functionality would encapsulate.
So like, I guess in the explanation there, you mentioned like creating a class. Like I would imagine that at some point we will come to where creating a class is a very long process, like for more complex programs, right? So when you're creating that class, like that might take you 2 days, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, and you're going to be working on that same branch for that class, for example. So like when I create the first commit for that class, I won't have actually finished the functionality for that class, but maybe I finished like the first 2 methods in that class with tests passing for those methods. Like, would it be weird if I then pushed those commits, or should I wait until the entire class is done, which could be like a day or 2 before I push all of the commits?
Well, so once your branch is done, that's when you want to push your branch and do a PR request for your branch. So it might take you half a day. It might take you 3 days to finish that branch.
Oh, okay. So you only push the branch once all of the work for that branch is done, and you're not going to be doing any more work on that branch.
Well, technically you can push the branch up to GitHub anytime you want, because then it's just stored and hanging out there, but you wouldn't create a PR, a pull request, until the branch is done.
Right. And I think that's the piece where I was curious about, like, how many commits do we, like, okay, maybe I'm just going in circles. Maybe I can ask this later.
No, and it doesn't matter. There's no number. So, right, like sometimes I'll never push my branch to GitHub, but you know, maybe at the end of your work day, you can push your branch to GitHub just so it's stored on a remote repo in case your laptop catches on fire or something. Then you don't lose your work, because that's the point of GitHub, is to keep this work centralized so there's always a copy of it.
Yeah, I guess I was just like, in practicality, it just seems like we will be pushing branches without doing pull requests quite often, it would seem, because like a branch could take a while to work on, like more than a day, right? Like I'm working on a branch throughout the day, right? I do a bunch of work. I have like multiple commits, but the branch isn't done because I'm not done with the actual like full class, right? I go to bed. Before I go to bed, I want to push that branch to the remote just in case my computer catches on fire.
Yeah.
It seems like that scenario might happen a lot, but we wouldn't create a pull request there because the branch isn't done.
Yeah, that's totally fine.
It's just something that's up to your discretion.
Yeah. There's no right or wrong answer to that question. And you can push a million times if you wanted. It really doesn't matter. What
Only
matters
go
is
through this workflow that we're going through right now when the branch is done in terms of creating the pull request.
that's just the workflow I'm showing. I could push after every commit if I wanted to, but there's no point in doing that.
You might want to push, like, if someone else on your team needs something from you that you've worked on, that might be worth
like
pushing.
in the workflow that we're being shown, right? It's like you push, and then once you push, you create the pull request. But you might not actually do the pull request step if you're not done with the branch.
That's correct.
That's, I think, okay.
Yep, exactly. All right. Will, do you have a quick question? Zach, do you have a question?
Can we just switch over to the checklist, please?
Absolutely. Cool. And actually what I want to do is move on to the collaborator piece before I do anything else, because that's what we really need to get to. So we did create the PR, and actually I'm going to pause on the checklist. So adding our partners. Well, not, I'm going to add to the checklist. So what I'm going to do now is maybe I was working solo until now, and now Meg has joined my team. So I'm going to start collaborating with Meg. So what I'm going to do, because I am the owner of this repo, is I need to give Meg permissions to be able to do push and pull requests to this repo. So the first thing I'm going to do is go to my settings tab. And then it's under the manage access tab. And I got to put in my password. Right, and so here I can invite collaborators. And so you need to know their GitHub handle. And then you add them as a collaborator. And once they accept that invitation, you'll either get an email, or it'll show up on this little bell. You see how I have a dot on this bell? That's like a notification. So it just depends on your GitHub settings and how you have it set. But I think what we'll do now is, I think I'm gonna stop screen sharing if I have this right. And then Meg's gonna take over and show what she's gonna do as a collaborator now to start working on this project.
All right, I'm gonna share. So I just got this email. I am notoriously horrible at checking my email, so don't look at how many emails I have right now. So I have this right here, an invitation to collaborate on Kat Scriver's Planet Party 2008. You all can see my email right now, is that correct?
Yes.
Cool, thank you. And I'm gonna go ahead and take a look and view this invitation. Great. So you can see up here, I am on Kat's repo that she had made, and I can see Kat Scriver invited you to collaborate. So I'm gonna go ahead and accept this invitation. And I'm taken right back to the repository. So the next thing I wanna do, and I guess, Kat, if you wanna take notes on my steps, and then we'll just show your screen once I'm done.
Perfect.
Since you have that list set up. So what I'm gonna do is I want this accessible to me locally so that I can work on this project. And what Kat just gave me is the ability to pull down this information, and also the ability to push up whatever I change and have those like fetch and push rights as well. So I want to get this pulled down locally. I'm going to go ahead and just clone this. I don't want to fork it. So if I fork this, it's going to make a copy for just me. And then if I were to clone my fork, I would only be pushing up to my copy. I wouldn't be pushing up to our shared copy. So until this whole project's done, I'm not going to fork this repository to have it on my repositories list. And you'll also, I think we'll talk about this like near the end of this project when we talk about adding readmes and whatnot. Usually in the readmes, since Kat had, she created this project, she might put at the very end of it like a link to my name that says like, this person also collaborated on this project. And then that way I can like link Kat's repo if I ever wanted to put this on a resume or something like that. And it just shows that I'm a collaborator on this project. Anyway, getting back to this. So I'm going to go ahead and clone this SSH key. And right now I am in, let me make this a little bigger, my staff folder. And I'm going to put this into, I have a lessons folder. Cool, nothing's in it right now. So I'm going to go ahead and clone this. And I have nothing in here. I'm just going to let it be named Planet Party 2008. So go ahead, hit enter on this. And now if I look in this folder, looks like I have that Planet Party 2008. So I'm going to go ahead and CD into that. And I'm just going to open it, see what I'm working with. So I know Kat has already put some code in this. I'm pulling down some pre-existing code that she had made. So taking a look around, see what she's done. Looks like Kat created this planet class. I can also see if I open up this planet file, that's the other one. So I have my planet class test, and then I just have this planet here. First thing that I'm gonna do when I pull down this code, and this is kind of the same workflow that Kat did after Kat had pushed up everything for main, she decided, okay, I wanna actually start working on this planet class test and just creating a planet class is the thing she did after that was she made a new branch so that she could start working on that. So I'm going to do the same exact thing. I just pulled down the main branch, and I never want to alter code while I'm on the main branch. So I'm going to go ahead and use that same workflow. And I'm going to say, okay, what functionality do I want to add to this? I'm going to add that a planet can spin. So we're going to have a little method to check to see that a planet can spin. Sure. So I'm going to get checkout -b and just call this planet can spin. That'll be the name of my branch. And if I look at get remote -v, or sorry, that's not what I want. Get branch. So get remote -v, that just shows me what I'm connected to, where my origin is, but my get branch will show me which branch I'm currently on. I can see that there is a main branch. I can see though by the star here that I'm on this branch that I created. So now I'm on this branch, I can go ahead and make some changes here if I'd like. Like I said, let's go ahead and I'm gonna make a test in here that says like def test it can spin. This is just like very silly little pieces of functionality. So nothing serious that we're writing here. I need a planet, and I also need to make some type of assertion. So let's say that assert, I just want to get true back. So I'm just going to use assert when I say planet.spin ? So when I call this method that I'll create, I want it to return true. Cool. So let me just run this test. Undefined method spin. I'm just going to go ahead and get this to pass really quick. I think I'm going to put this, just to get this to pass, I'm just going to make a method called spin ? And have it return true. Not the most dynamic code, but for what we're trying to do, it works. Cool. So that's all passing. I think this looks good for the functionality that I wanted for this branch. It's working. I'm ready to push this back up and have Kat take a look at it before we merge it into our main branch. Does this sound all right, Kat, with where you kind of want to go with this?
Yeah, perfect.
Cool. So, okay, got sidetracked. Let's see, what's my status? So I have the live planet that I had altered, and I also have my planet test that I added a test to. So I'm going to commit these one at a time. So I'm going to add git add. I'm going to grab this. Oops. Hold on. That did not copy. I'll just type it in. Okay. Git add test planet test. And if I take a look at my git status, I can see in green here, this is staged to be committed now. So I'm going to write in here git commit. My message is going to be add test for planet can spin. And then if I look at my git status, I still have one that I have not added, but I do want to push this up so Kat can take a look at it. So I'm going to go ahead and add this live planet. If I look at my status, I can see that's ready to be committed. So I'm going to go ahead and commit that file, and I'll say add method spin ? Cool. Okay, on branch planet can spin, nothing to commit, working tree is clean. So I have committed everything that I wanted to, all the changes that I made to this branch. And now at this point in time, my job here for this piece of functionality is done. I want to push this up to GitHub so that Kat can see this. So I'm going to go ahead and git push origin. This is going to be the name of the branch name I want to push up. If I forget, I can always run git branch, but I can see it up here. Planet can spin. I could read through all of this. I can see like create a pull request for that branch on GitHub by visiting your actual GitHub repo. And that's what I want to do. I want to go to GitHub and I want to create this pull request so that it can start getting reviewed before Kat can merge it. So let's jump back to, I'm just going to copy this so I can just go right there. And let's go ahead and jump back. Oh, I already have it up. I don't need to do that. So I was going to just put that link in here, but I'm already here and I can see that I have this like little yellow bar up here, and this yellow bar should be like, as soon as you look at your repo and you see this yellow bar, you know that a branch has been pushed up and you are able to make a pull request. So Planet Can Spin has recent pushes less than a minute ago, I can see, and I want to compare and make a pull request. And I'm just going to put a little prompt here and say what this PR does. And it adds a test for making sure a planet can spin, and adds a method spin to the planet class. And I know that all my tests are passing. Cool. I don't think Kat mentioned it, which is totally fine. I'm not expecting any of y'all to do this, but something that's kind of fun to look into is having templates. And really what it is if you want to just kind of like Google PR templates, it's just like a nice little checkbox that has all of this ready for you that you can just say like, yes, all tests are passing, and then like quickly write down a few bullet points. And then some fun templates are out there where it's like, go ahead and add a GIF to this pull request to explain your thoughts and feelings about this code that you just wrote. Just some fun stuff, some comic relief is always great when you're working in developing, because sometimes it's really frustrating, as you all have probably found out. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and create this pull request. I can see the code that I had changed down here. That looks fine. And I can see after making the pull request that there are no conflicts. So I'm good to kind of like let this go now. If there were to be conflicts, which we'll show you in a little bit, that would be something that I would want to take care of before I went ahead and notified Kat, hey, I just made a PR, please look it over and merge it when you're ready. But this looks good. So I'm going to kind of hand it off to Kat now, and I'll let you share your screen. Is there anything else or I guess, did anyone have questions that I can answer before unsharing? Bless you, Kat.
Thank you.
Garrett.
Yeah, so like we just discussed, like we're typically only supposed to do the actual pull request when we know that we're done working on that particular branch. What happens, so for example, I do my planet class on my planet branch. I'm done with my planet branch as far as I know. I upload it, I pull request it, and then it turns out like a day later, oops, I need to make a bunch of changes on my planet class. Is there a way to get back to that branch to then make changes once the pull request has happened?
Totally. Yeah, so I think that's a great question. So what you're saying is like, what if a day from now we've done more code maybe, and this has already been kind of like pushed and merged into our main branch? You can go back to that branch because that branch is specifically for the functionality of a planet being able to spin. You're welcome to go back to that and change something up and make another pull request with that branch. That's totally fine. All right, Joshua?
So if you don't set the upstream, the default is main, correct? So if you were to push,
when you push.
So what if you accidentally push to the main when you mean to push to the branch you're working on? What's
it would
the best
still, let's try it. So you're saying git push origin if I just did that?
Yeah.
The current branch planet has no upstream branch. So you can only merge if it is coming from main right away.
Okay.
little safety built into that. Jake?
To kind of go along with Garrett's question, so I tried that last night where I switched back to a branch I'd already done a pull request and merge on. And my partner had also merged with the main. And so when I hopped back on my branch, it was not up to date. So like I was building my cell and tried to call ship, but ship did not exist. So do you need to do like a pull to that branch as well?
Yes, and I think Kat is going to cover that because right now Kat's main and any branch that Kat has currently is not up to date with what will be on the main branch once she merges it to main. And so she's going to have to pull down to get all of those copies or to get all of that code that I just wrote down on her local computer onto the branch or onto the main.
Gotcha, thanks.
Yeah, Zach?
One quick question on pull requests. Once you merge that branch to like the main branch, theoretically, can you go into branches in GitHub and delete those branches that have already been merged to main? Like, is that preferred in the professional world to declutter everything?
You can. My preference is to leave them so I can go back and see that workflow. And I think it really is up to your company on what they would prefer you to do in that case. I think you're right. Sometimes people will ask that you delete them once you're done and it's been merged to kind of declutter this interface, but I think it's kind of up to who you work for and what their preference is.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, good question. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and stop sharing. And Kat, do you wanna go ahead and take over or?
Yep.
I don't know what time we're at for maybe a break.
Oh, yeah, you're right. Let's do a 5-minute palm and then we'll come back and I'll grab it from there. So at 10:17.
Cool. Thanks.
Thank you.
There's a moment in your bones when the fire takes over. Blood is running, blood is pumping as the will be screaming out.
Okay, so just to recap a little, what Meg had to do once she got that notification that she's added as an bleh, I can talk, that when she was added as a collaborator to the project, she needed to accept that invitation. She cloned the repo. I don't like talking without having something to like refer to when I'm talking. So she used this and cloned the repo using SSH. She navigated in her terminal to wherever she wanted that project to live. And then she did a git clone and did not control, command, I think is what it is, right? Command V is the, to paste the SSH that she had copied. She CD'd into the project, and then she was able to follow that git workflow to start working. So she created a branch and started doing that workflow of git add, git commit, add, commit, as she continued until she finished her functionality she was working on. When she was finished, she did a git push origin, the name of the branch, and created a pull request. Now, my GitHub notifications are turned off because there's way too many. So I wouldn't get a notification that she submitted a pull request. So it's a good idea to set some norms or standards with your group about how you're going to communicate about that. So maybe we agreed that Meg would send me a message on Slack when a PR was up for me to review. So now, am I sharing screen? Yes, okay. Thank you. So now what I'm going to do is come back to my my GitHub account. And if I look right here on the top where it says pull request, there's a little 1 hanging out. So if I click that, I can see here that Meg has created this pull request. So I can see her notes here. Looks good. I can see there's no merge conflicts. The other thing you'll want to get in the habit of doing is making comments on pull requests. So if we look up here, there's a couple more tabs. If we go to files changed, we can actually see the differences. So the green is the code that Meg added in this pull request. So what I can do, and even though it might seem a little trivial right now because we're working on such a small scale, I want you to get into the habit of making comments on pull requests because you're going to be, well, expected to do that. And it's going to get you in the habit because when you're on an actual dev team, when you have jobs, you're going to be following this workflow and actually making comments on your coworkers' PRs. So I might say right here, like, I appreciate the use of assert. Do we want to consider the false return value? Right, so leaving some clarifying questions maybe on the code. Okay, and then this is where she would have an opportunity, if it's something that needs to be addressed, before I merge it, she could make changes on her local on this branch and push them up, and the pushes would update this PR request. Okay, so she still has an opportunity to make changes to this code. But let's say maybe we had this conversation over Slack, a Slack call, and we talked about this and we don't want to consider the false value right now, which means this is all good to go. I could leave this here, I could resolve the conversation. So it just means that we talked about it. We don't need to consider that question anymore. You don't have to resolve the conversations right now, but I think it's a good practice. And then if we go back to the conversation tab, everything still looks good. So what I'm going to do, I'm ready to get this onto our main working branch. So I'm going to do merge pull requests, and I'm going to confirm that. All right, and we are good to go. So that is closed. So now if I go back to my code, I'm on the main branch, and I can see here, I can see Meg's code is added. Test it can spin. Okay. And that's kind of a full workflow with a partner. Any questions about what we've covered so far? Okay. I definitely want to put you in breakout rooms so you can practice this, but I don't want to run out of time to look at what a merge request might look like. So I think we might go just cover a merge request and then do breakout rooms. Will, do you have a question?
Yeah, sorry. I was trying to take notes while you're doing that, so apologize if you just said this, but let's say they've committed a pull request, you look at it and you say, this isn't good. Like, what does that look like?
Yeah, then I would just have a conversation with Meg and say, okay, I think this needs some changes. So at that point, the PR could just hang out. She could cancel the PR if she wanted to and work more on the branch. But before it's merged, if Meg does some more work on her branch on her local and then pushes that back up to GitHub, it will update the PR. And so that we can continue to review it and make updates and changes until we merge it.
Okay, so you don't like send notes via GitHub saying like, hey, maybe fix this or whatever else, just maybe take it into Slack channel and do it through there?
That's where your group needs to decide what's going to be your mode of communication. If it's just two people like a partner, maybe Slack, direct message is the best way. If it's a group, you'd probably want to have some kind of Slack group message where these conversations can happen. So you and your group and your partners need to decide what your norm is going to be for you.
Okay.
Yeah, great. And then, was that Taylor? Were you just asking me that, or?
Yeah, I had a little bit of a follow-up question. It's kind of along the same lines, but for these projects, since we're doing pairing, if you're doing kind of like a driver navigator thing, and you're submitting a pull request, like we were kind of struggling on what comments we would add since we were both kind of
right
there the whole time and agreeing on everything.
Yes,
So,
and that's why I say it's a little trivial in this point in your career to be doing that, but it's about the habit and starting to build those habits. So I would say, even if like you're working driver navigator together, which I think is a great way to work, and Taylor, if you're the one who submits the pull request, your partner should still be the one to approve it. So maybe they could just go through and make some comment, something like, we decided to use this enumerable because of this reason, or just something to get into that habit of reviewing the code and making comments.
I see. Thank you.
Yeah, Cheryl?
Yeah, so at this point, you merge the PR. So you have to do a poll to get all of that onto your computer. Meg, does she have to do one as well, or she already has it all? Because
Cheryl, these are really, really good questions. And I think I'm going to hold off because it's the next thing we're going to talk about.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, great questions. Garrett?
Yeah, so you mentioned that when we go to like review code, the new code will show up in green that was added as a part of the pull request. Let's say we make comments and then they go back, they don't close out the PR, they go back and they add in new code. And the PR will automatically update itself. When you go to the code, is what will show up in green is the newest added code?
Yep.
Okay, just wanted to check.
Yep, you got it. And you'll be able to experiment with that and play with it. And I recommend you do, right? Just so you can see how that code gets updated. So, cool. So I think what I'm gonna do right now is kind of show, what do I wanna show? Okay, I'm going to show a standard workflow, I think. So I am not on main branch. I'm going to check out. All right, so now I'm back on main. Remember to switch branches, it's just the checkout command. So get checkout main. So I know that Meg and I, we merged a PR. So the main branch is updated on my remote, right? But if I look at my local, I still don't have that code. Right? So my local main branch does not automatically get updated. There's a key step I have to do here, which is what Cheryl was kind of referring to. So anyone know that command that I need to do on my local to get all the updated code? Cheryl?
Is it get poll origin main?
Yes. Oh, okay, fine. Get poll origin main. So the poll is opposite than a push. right? And I'm pulling the code from my remote repo to update my local main branch. So I just do a git pull origin main. Okay, a bunch of files changed. And then if I come back to my project, I can see that all the code Meg had added and all that code I pushed up is now on my main branch. Okay, so now I want to continue working. So my main is updated, so I would then create a branch to continue working. Okay, so I could do git checkout -b, I don't know, add sun class or something, or whatever I wanted to do next. Okay, but actually I want to show a different scenario first. So I actually have another branch here I was working on called Planet Attributes. So I'm going to go back over to that branch, check out Planet Attributes. Okay, and here's the scenario with this one, is that I created this branch and started working on it while Meg was working on her branch. Okay, so this was before that PR was submitted. Okay, so actually let me get rid of some of these things here. So if you look here, I don't have the spin test. Do you notice that? Okay. And Meg, feel free to jump in because I feel like I'm getting all lost now with how we're going to show like the merge conflict and everything. Actually, no, this is good. So what happened here is like Meg and I we both branched off main and we're both working on our own thing. Meg got finished with her branch and functionality first, and so that PR was merged on main, but I was still working away here, working on all my code. So I added this attribute of a name, right? And, but I am not updated, but maybe I forgot to do a poll into this. I forgot to update this, or not forgot, but I didn't have a chance to update this because Meg was working on her branch separately. Okay, so I'm going to show you what will happen now if I try to push this branch up for a PR. We're going to get some merge conflicts. One thing I want to say about merge conflicts is they might seem intimidating at first, but they are an absolutely normal part of development workflow. And so you want to get comfortable with them and want to get used to them. They're not a bad thing. They happen daily. Okay, so I'm going to check my git status on this branch. All right, I've got nothing to commit. Everything's been added and committed. So what I want to do is I'm done with my functionality of adding a name attribute. So I want to get this merged to master also. So first I'm going to do it maybe not the ideal way, just to show you what will happen here. So I want to push this up. Okay, and now, so I've got my yellow bar saying, okay, a branch has been pushed up. And now when I do my pull request, do you see this right here where it says can't automatically merge? Okay, so if it can't I can still create my pull request even though it can't automatically merge. And the reason it can't automatically merge is because Git like evaluates its changes line by line. And usually it knows how to distribute those lines if they don't match, but sometimes it's not sure what code you want to keep, if you meant to overwrite code or what's going on. So you need to tell Git how you want this code to look. So I can create a pull request. Okay. But what I notice here, it says that there are conflicts. Okay? And these are the files where there's some conflicts. Now you could resolve the conflicts here in the GitHub interface. I don't think it's ideal though, and to me it can get a little confusing and you can't necessarily test it. So I'm going to show you what we can do on this end. And I apologize, Meg, this is totally not what we like practiced.
Oh, this is fine. This is good.
All right, thank you. I'm like,
yeah.
We're going.
I think we're still accomplishing it.
Yeah, so, all right, so what I'm gonna do is I'm still on my branch on my local. And this is the key that you kind of want to do whenever you're finished with you feel like you're done with the branch and you're done with your functionality. What you want to do is make sure you're working off the most up-to-date changes of the code, because your partner might have merged some code. Well, you would know it because you're the one submitting or approving the PR. So what you'll want to do is do a git pull origin main. Okay, but remember, I'm in my branch. I am on my Planet Attributes branch right now, but I'm going to pull the main branch into my branch to make sure I have all the updated code. Okay, and I'm doing this for a couple reasons. One, I know there's merge conflicts, so it'll help me resolve them in Atom, which is easier than the GitHub interface. And it just makes sure that all merge conflicts are ironed out before I ask Meg to review my PR. All right, so I'm gonna pull that in. It tells me right here there's some conflicts, and it tells me the files the conflicts are in. I need to fix those. So here's the cool thing why I like using Atom is Atom highlights for me the changes. Okay, so it says what you added right now was this pink piece, but what's coming in from main is this blue piece. So it wants to know, which piece do you want? Do you want both of these? What order do you want them in? Git needs some help with knowing what to keep. So you can click the use me's, but see these like 3 little tiny dots next to it? If you click on that, it will give you some options. Resolve as ours means it'll just keep this pink piece. Resolve as theirs. See how it says their changes down here? It'll just keep the blue piece. Or you can say resolve as ours then theirs, and it'll keep both blocks of code, but the pink then the blue. Or resolve as theirs then ours, we'll flip-flop it. So it'll put the blue then the pink. Is this confusing enough? So it gets much easier once you practice it, I promise.
Could you repeat that, Kat, just one more time?
The whole thing?
Just the last bit of the resolve ours and theirs.
So the resolving just means we're going to keep this piece of code. So the pink piece, it says our changes, so that's the our. And then the blue block here, it says their changes. So I'm either going to keep just the pink, just the blue, or I'm going to keep both in the order they're presently at, our first, then their, or I'm going to keep both but flip them. So their would be first and our, then ours. Or dismiss, I think, just closes this. Actually, I don't know what dismiss does. Then I'm afraid to press it. So, so I want to keep both pieces of code. And I like that the test for the name is above the test for the spin method. That seems like a more logical order to me. So I'm going to resolve this as ours, then theirs. Okay, and then what that does is it keeps all this code. And then, oh, you can see, look, I'm missing an end here. And so I know I need to add an end. And I could have reran my test, and you always want to rerun tests after merge conflicts to make sure you didn't break anything. And you can't rerun the test when doing it with the GitHub interface, which is why I'd rather do it in Atom. Okay, but this was just one file because this told me I had merge conflicts in both the test and the lib directory. So now if I go into the lib planet, I have the same problem here. It's like, it says there's some overlapping code, not sure how to resolve it. So it looks like here I want to do the same thing. I want to have our changes and then their changes. So I'm going to resolve ours, then theirs. Cool. And it always, like, I don't know why it knocks off the end, but then we can add it. And then I can make sure I rerun my tests to make sure I didn't break anything. And I did break something. Test, it can spin. Oh, so her spin, because I added an attribute, didn't have the attribute, so we need to add that since it now takes an argument. Great, and now I have no errors. All the tests are passing, and I have resolved all the merge conflicts. Okay, but because code has changed, if I do git status now, you could see there's some unstaged code. So after I resolve these merge conflicts, I still need to go through this git workflow of adding, committing, and then, oh, this will show you how I can push again, and it'll update the PR actually. Because remember right now the PR is showing the merge conflicts on GitHub. So I've resolved those in Atom. I'm going to do a git add test, planet test. Actually, I'm going to add both of them because what this commit message is resolve merge conflicts with main. All right, we're good to go. So now I can git push my branch. I'll push it back up. And now you'll notice this is updated, and now the merge conflicts have been resolved. Okay. And then I could ask Meg to go ahead and update that. So I think the key here is, let's see, I have some tips. Always pull main into your branch right before you're about to push. And push to create a PR, not just pushing to store it. But say your branch is done, you've got all your functionality working, you always want to, and this is another habit you want to get into, is do a git pull origin main into your branch so you can see if there's any merge conflicts. And then you can resolve those in Atom before you do a PR. Some other tips while we're at it, I guess, is never merge your own PR. Even if you're working driver navigator, you still want the other person to be the one to merge the PR request. Get into that habit of leaving comments on the PRs. And then what Meg had said, I wrote that down because it was such great advice. You never want to alter code while you're on the main branch. So you want to get into that habit of always checking what branch you're on before you start working. And you can do that, well, a lot of the terminals have this, which shows you the name of the branch you're on, but if you just type, well, you can type git status and it will show you what branch you're on. Ooh, questions galore. Will, go ahead.
Yeah, Kat, I was actually trying to write down a workflow because I've already done this where you forget to branch and you actually do commits off the main. And is it as, I was trying, what is the, how do I get myself out? Can I do like a git branch dash branch main and then new branch name to just copy those commits to the new branch, or how can I back those out without losing all that work?
You, I believe you can just revert the commits. Meg, do you know the best course? Because you can't just do a branch then, those commits will still be on master. Do you need to like undo the commits? It won't undo the code, but if you, well, no, you wouldn't want to do a revert because that'll rewind it. You can do a reset of the head.
I think if you were to make changes, and maybe this is something that, if I talk through this, Kat, can you try it really quick on yours?
Yeah.
So if you go to your main, and let's just go ahead and put some change in there. So you're like, oops, I accidentally put this word here, and you're saying, Will, that you committed it then, correct? Yeah, so we'll go ahead and commit that. I think when you realize that you committed and you're on main, I would then check out, can you try checking out a branch off of this main and then going back to main to reset it? So git checkout -b new test or whatever, I don't know, you want to name that new branch. And now you still have, like, you are on that new branch with that code up to date with what you just changed, Will. But now if you go back to main, then that's where I would go ahead and reset that status. So I would go back to, and do you know that command right off the top of your head, Kat, of,
I know.
I mean, I guess reset.
I think if you do git reset, with it automatically you'll do a 1. No. Oh, I'd have to Google this.
Yeah. I have to do that too all the time, of just like going back to see those commands that I need to use. But I think, Will, to answer your question, that would be the thing that I would do of like, okay, commit it there, check out a branch so that copies over to a branch, but then go back to your main and revert it back to that original state it was in.
Could you just repull the main? Would it overwrite the changes? Or
You might have some conflict, I think.
Yeah, it won't.
You probably still have what you added because not a conflict, because you just added something to the bottom of that. So it would still pull main, but still leave those changes that you made.
Okay.
Let's go ahead. If Kat, you want to keep going with questions, I'll go ahead and do some research and put that in the chat.
All right, I just did it though.
Oh, okay. Get reset.
No, so so you have to like revert back to the last commit hash. And so this is what the commit hash looks like. So if you do a git, what did I do? Git history, a git log, it shows you like an order, a log of those commits. And then I was able to just copy that commit hash. And then you do git revert that one. And then it will like it's like an undo. And so it pulled that back. I guess, is that confusing? If that's confusing, I would say like Google it, but if it happens, like you can pull one of us in to help. And then let me see if I check out that branch. What was that branch name? And then it's still there on that branch. Cool, that was a good question. Hey, this was recorded. Just go back and see what I did. I'm sorry, Jake, was that you or do you still have a question?
I still have a question.
Go for it.
So if you go back to your GitHub right now, so then I guess steps to do after this. So Meg would approve this, and then you would still, once that's all merged, you want to run a poll again from your main?
Yes.
Okay, and then just kind of restarts all over again.
Yep. Yeah, whenever you know there's a PR done, if you're not already working on a branch, then you want to do a git pull origin main into your main to make sure you have the most up-to-date code and then branch off of that.
Yeah.
Cool. Let's see, Jose?
Yes. When it comes to the merging conflicts, yesterday while I was working on the battleship, I forgot to pull in the main when I was doing the code, and when I was pushing it, it told me there was a merge conflict, but it didn't even let me push the thing. Like it stopped me in the terminal, and I was trying to look for the merge conflict. I looked in Atom and also looked in Git, but on GitHub, but I didn't find it at all. Like it did not let me push anything. I was stuck there. So the only way that I resolved that, I asked my mentor, and he said just to do a git stash to delete everything, pull it in, and then apply it. But I was wondering if there's like another way to fix that, because
yeah, I think it would depend. Like we'd have to see exactly what the errors are saying, but you can't pull code in if you've got like uncommitted changes. And so that's like what the git stash is doing. It's like storing those somewhere else so that they it's like on a trash pile, but they're stored right on top. And then you could pull things in and pull those back so you don't lose your changes. But if that ever happens again, pull one of us in and we can walk through it. Because there's a couple different scenarios. Zach?
Is this question answer time? I have a few questions. Should I post them in the thread instead, or do I have time right now to do so?
I think it's fine right now.
Okay. So first one of three is when I was git pulling after my partner created and pushed a new branch, in terminal it said that there is a rebase option. Can you explain what that means?
I am not good at rebasing. It's a different thing. It's kind of like a merge, but it's a different, it does something different to the commits. Meg, do you know how to explain a rebase?
I also don't rebase very often, so I feel like I cannot answer it, but it's worth Googling, and maybe I can come up with a better way to explain it.
It does something to the commits where like when you do a merge, it keeps the commits in like a time order of like, because all the commits have timestamps, and the rebase will do something a little bit different where it like puts all the changes from main like in back of your branch. Maybe this picture, like it puts all the commits in the back of your branch and then all your changes at the beginning of it. So it can change the commit history a little bit. Is one better than the other? I don't know. I think it might depend too on whatever team you're on. They may have a preference of doing merges versus rebases. I think just doing merges for now, which is that git pull origin master, that's merging that branch into your branch, is going to be the easiest thing to do for now.
Okay, cool. Second is there a way to change the commit message? There's been a couple times where I've accidentally committed like a lib file and a test file and did the same commit message since they were both staged. Is there a way to change that commit message in GitHub or anything?
Yes. If it's a commit message you like just did I just do one
amend? Is that what you're?
What is it, Meg?
I think amend.
Yeah. But is it like a -m?
Yeah, so git commit amend -m. Yeah, I think Joshua, you just put it in there.
Hold on,
and then you can put, and then you can put the new message in there.
So if I check my git log, my last commit was add test. So if I do git commit amend,
and you're gonna do that -amend.
I don't need, oh, -amend. Like this.
Yeah, try that.
It did not change that one.
You might maybe take off that -m.
And this is, so I want to, some of this git stuff.
M.
I'll get it.
I think we're spelling amend wrong.
Yeah.
Someone in the chat put 2 dashes in front of amend.
Well, maybe that's it.
M's, 2 M's.
And then M. There's some things with Git. Am I doing it wrong still? There's some things.
Give it a shot.
Nope. There's some.
I think. Oh, it says it right there. Do you see that? If you scroll down, it's like, did you mean? I think it's --AMEND. And I think someone said.
Wait, where do you see that?
Up a little bit, right? On the left column.
Or --.
Oh, with 1 M.
Yeah. Spelling.
Do I still need the -m?
I don't think so. Jeez.
Oh my gosh.
Two dashes.
Yes.
Two dashes. Yeah. Okay, now try the -m.
We don't memorize everything, friends, and that's what I want you to know. There we go. Okay.
There we go.
This is why Google exists, right? You're gonna learn some things will become second nature to you because you do them so often. Otherwise, it's good to know things exist and know you can Google exact syntax to make those things exist or to accomplish those things. So like I knew you could do it, I just didn't remember the command. And yeah, and reading these things, like Git does try to help you. So if you can read the messages, that's good too. So yes, that is how you can change a message.
Okay, cool. Thank you. And last question, what's the best practice to like code along with your partner to like play around with things? So like, let's say that you both have like the same copies, like you just pulled and you're on the same page and you're both kind of playing with writing tests for a certain file. And then like one of you gets it, would that person push it up, make the pull request, and the other person would git pull that main back down to like overwrite. Like, so say like I was working on the same test file, but I didn't get this to the same place they did. Would they be able to push their changes up and then I can pull them down and overwrite what I was writing with what they had?
I think you can just abandon the branch too, because it's okay to like work on branches. What's called like a code spike is where you're experimenting with code and testing and trying things out. And so you could both be on different branches on your locals playing with it, and whoever gets it can then push it. And then the other person can go back to go back to main, pull main, and then just make a new branch. And you can just abandon branches. That's fine to do.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
Yeah. Joshua?
Is there a way to, when you like run git status for you to see that you are behind maybe or not fully up to date with the remote repo main branch, because it lets you know if you are ahead of the remote repo, but I'm not sure how to do like the converse of that.
I know when you try to push, it will tell you if you're ahead or behind, because there'll be some issues pushing if you're ahead or behind. I'm not sure if it'll, when it shows you. I think my like philosophy on that is anytime I switch back to main to start something new, I always do a git pull origin main just to make sure that I've got the most up-to-date code, and then I would make a branch to start working. The other thing I do in my practice is when I'm done working with a branch and I'm ready to push it up, I will pull main into that branch to make sure I have any updated code. So it should just become part of your cycle.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I also just dropped something. I think I just found this, and I don't know if you want to try it right now. I dropped it in the chat, Kat. But if you do git status space dash uno, UNO, yeah, try that. That'll tell you. I think, well, on this case, you're on branch main, nothing to commit. If you were ahead or behind, it would tell you there, I believe.
Well, that's fun. Uno.
Yeah, I just Googled it though, so that might work. We're right on the main branch, so we can't really see it.
Yeah, and there, I mean, you could go deep down git rabbit holes and all the commands. So I'd keep it as simple as possible for now until you really get the flow of what's going on, and then you can start adding more git complexity if you want to. Garrett?
Yeah, so just to clarify, when it tells you that like you are ahead by X, what does that mean in terms of what you need to do versus like being behind?
If you are ahead, then you have more commits than is currently on master. So you can do a pull to make sure you have the most up-to-date code, but it's just letting you know that you are ahead of master. So you're working, you know, on a branch, and the next things would be would just be to push those up to do a merge pull request.
So if it tells you you're ahead and your goal is to be even, then the course of action would be to push.
When you're ready to push.
Yeah, I'm just trying to figure out like what it means to be ahead or behind.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
like,
I think
workflow.
I think these pictures help a little bit. Well, this is for a git rebase, but maybe like git so let's see. Oh, maybe this one. So like this blue is main, and so someone created a branch here and started committing. So maybe these commits are ahead of main at this point. So when you're done with this branch, you would merge it back up.
Okay.
But you don't have to do anything until you're ready to go, until your functionality is finished. I think that, wait, my thing went away. Okay, let's do Will and then Shonda, and then we'll close out.
Okay, I think mine will be quick. But going back to my question, if you're actually doing commits off main, if you do create a new branch, move the history to it, could I then go back to main and then I just found this command to delete the main branch and then re-pull it? It just seems like deleting the branch could be risky, but maybe that would just be one way to do it also.
Yeah, usually you notice pretty quickly, and you can always do that revert that I showed. So if you do the git log, you can see a history of all the commits. And so you can find the commit where you started committing on main and didn't mean to, and then just copy that commit hash and then do a git revert and then paste that. So I don't know, you can delete main if you want to, because it's stored up on GitHub for you, so you could just pull it down.
Okay.
But I would say like you want to fix forward instead of like deleting everything and starting again. You want to learn how to fix forward. That makes sense. All right, Shonda?
Yeah, just a quick question on, so once you're done with a branch, would you recommend, like, is it best practice to go ahead and delete that branch, or would we like keep it in GitHub?
You want to, branches should stay in GitHub because like Meg was saying, that kind of creates a history for you. So you can always go back and see who did what and when and on what branch. If it's on your local though, because if you do git branch, you can see all the branches. If this start, I usually just let them hang out and I just don't go back to old branches typically. I'll just create new ones off of main. If this gets out of hand, you can always delete them off of your local. I think it's just git branch -d, like planet attributes, I think was my branch. I don't think I merged that. So yeah, I didn't fully merge that one. So I'm not going to delete it, but I could. And that's how you can delete them off your local, but you don't have to. It just hangs out there. Cool. All right. So we're going to end here. I really wanted to do breakout rooms, so I apologize we didn't get to that, but hopefully you learned more about Git workflow and working with a team. Remember, it's going to feel very clunky and maybe a little trivial at the beginning, but you want to get into these habits and these workflows. So reach out if you have any questions about this. I'll have this recording up as soon as it processes. Meg, do you have anything else you want to add?
No, not really, other than like, this is stuff obviously that we are continuously iterating on and learning more and more about. So definitely reach out to us if y'all run into anything that becomes an issue, a git fire, as some might say, or dumpster fire. In ways, it's normal for that to happen, and it can be very scary at times. So reach out to us. We'll try and help you as best we can, but also be patient with us because we're always trying to figure out new things about Git workflow as well.
Definitely. Awesome. All right. Thank you for being here. Some of you have one-on-ones, and so we'll reach out with where to meet for those. All right. Thank you. Have a great day, friends.
Thanks, guys.